right, so recording has started for the test video.
Lovely. Do you want to start us off with the intro, or should I?
So this is just a test video to set up if we have the right idea going into reddusk's commission. That's probably gonna be way more videos than anyone was expecting.
Not the videos you wanted, but the videos you needed. So basically, we were commissioned to do sort of like it's a little bit difficult to explain, but the best way that I could describe it is that it was intended to be like sort of a fan fiction scenario involving Dante and like a like a harem, sort of like any verse that technically has a group of girls in its like main cast. And the basic details were just like that Dante essentially gets dropped into this scenario, and it is his goal within this context to go and like find or get like a girlfriend or a group of women. And we were given conditions about how we wanted to write and script this as well. So he doesn't have to get with this many people, or it could be someone else, and he can essentially play out the events of the story as he sees fit and interact with the characters. So it is technically a scenario that could evolve into more than what is just there, but his ultimate goal, or at least his main goal while he's there, is the acquisition of like a relationship or some long-term interaction
Dante
with
has
females.
decided to stop having bad luck with women and has decided to actually
Yes,
work on it.
he's decided to win. So, and basically the series that we chose was Bleach. Before I get into the first part, which is the context concessions, which, with any luck, they should be able to see. Yes, Sim? They should be able to see this on the screen?
They are seeing the screen going
Oh,
on.
okay,
Right
okay.
Context concessions.
Or they maybe... I'll explain it either way. So the reason we chose Bleach is that Bleach has a lot of like female characters within its cast that I find to be not only very well written, but are also like unique from one another. They generally have quite a bit of depth to another and have like significant enough backstories that you could all like point them out and from one another. They also have distinct designs, so they're easy to stand out from one another as well. And they have a plethora of interesting and different powers. So this would give Dante probably the most presentable, and I would say the closest thing to a reasonable environment to like flirt, because like everyone there has like their own unique thing. They're not like copies of one another effectively. Like every person is different.
Totally not throwing shots, I would assume.
Well, I don't have any examples that I could think of, but I'm just saying like that is a possibility of something that could be done if you're discussing like an anime or something that was harem. And one of the conditions for this was an anime, which Bleach happens to be. Also, for this scenario, we will be using mainly the Bleach anime, though we will be obviously providing information from the manga to contextualize things that are not covered in the anime for extra details, such as like certain guides and whatnot. Now, going forward, we then go into the scenario, sort of, but we have to lay certain ground rules. And the first is the context concessions. So it is abundantly clear to anyone who has watched this, any videos on this channel for any length of time, especially within the last 2 months, with all the stuff that we've gotten from like the new translation of Deadly Fortune, all the informations from Visions of E, Pinnacle of Combat, and then all the massive research that we've done for the purposes of the DMC video, which we've archived here in the server, that Dante's powers are a little bit strong. So we kind of have to nerf him like a lot, because if he doesn't, he will basically break the entire story of any place that we put him in. So the concessions here would be that his general stats are getting neutered to like whatever Bleach currently scales to in speed and AP. And then his certain hacks, like his conceptual manipulation, his existence erasure, abstract existence, certain levels of regeneration, negations of certain levels of regen or immortality, are just either getting removed or getting like locked away under certain conditions.
Is that because you didn't want him to be Aizen?
I'm not trying to make like a Yuha among Yuhas. Demonic power is sort of kind of being nerfed a little bit in the sense that characters in Bleach are being given resistance to its like status conditions, or at least somehow adaptability to its status conditions, so that they don't get like completely obliterated. Basically, the only circumstance it's going to operate under similar rules to spiritual pressure, where if they get hit by external forces of it, and Dante happens to have more of it, he'll be able to hit them with some status conditions. But otherwise, if they're comparable to him, they won't be feeling anything. Dimensionality wise, he's getting nerfed. He's not going to have like 4D, 5D, or any higher scaling. He's not going to get that. He's going to be like 3D, like most of the Bleach characters. So he's, yeah. And obviously his regen, so he'll have his normal basic regen. He's not going to get like any low godly or mid godly feats, unless he's in like Devil Trigger. And then I already mentioned all the other things, because if he did, then there basically would be no way to kill him at all in the story, and his presence would just constantly be a problem.
Wow. If
then
this was written in a way that prevented Dante from stealing all the glory.
That's what this is for. So the second part inquires the basically the versions and the equipment. So we will be using post DMC3 Dante with his full weapon list from the game, including the Force Edge. So the scenario for this is that Dante basically just finishes his fight with Virgil, and Virgil jumps off the cliff, and he takes the Force Edge, and he's walking back to the portal to the edge of the Netherworld. And he just gets transported into the Bleachverse. So he has all of the experience and information that he gained up until that point, and the level of power that he received at that point is just simply being nerfed. But his experience and knowledge that he gained with his abilities would be intact. He would also have his full kit, and he would still have Kalina Ann in this scenario, as he has not given it back to Lady. So Lady's just kind of awkwardly going to be sitting at the bottom of Teminaguru waiting for him to retrieve a rocket launcher that she's never going to get. Sorry, Lady. And then with that, we have the story entrance, which is the third portion. So he essentially lands in the Bleachverse. Context for where he's going to be landing is that we have a scan from like the guidebook that basically confirms where everyone lives in the first arc. He's going to be landing in the world of living inside Katakura Town, and he'll be right below the border of the Mitsumiya district. In a construction site at midday in like the middle of May, around the same day that Rukia Kuchiki is sent to the world of living, though he'll be sent there in like later afternoon, or I guess earlier afternoon.
You did mention that specific dates are mentioned. Are you telling me they actually give a specific date for like when Rukia shows up and shit?
They give a general time. Uryu confirms that that Ichigo becomes a Soul Reaper in mid-May. I don't know if it's stated if it's like the 15th of May or like the 14th of May, but it gives a very close approximate time frame. Due to the data book, you can actually nail it down to almost an exact science. It's rather shocking. Hold on one sec, I'll be right back. Entertain them for a moment.
Wow. Yeah, unfortunately for this portion, or for this attempt at the video, Balrog Blaze is currently not with us Kyle, as he is currently out suffering as a job site. So for this one, it'll be whatever Mangler's sort of holding the hand here, since the reason it's so in-depth is because Kyle and Mangler decided to work on the scenario and really flesh it out. So they're the
with
ones
that,
who know most.
I'm back.
Oh, he's returning.
Yes, so for context, I have a map here, and if he's able to click on it, he can sort of scan it in. You don't have to open a regional, you should be able to do it. So the Mitsumi district, right there, is basically right below the College Town district, which, based on the data book itself, is essentially where their high school is located. So the reason we're choosing this is because this is basically right next to the Urahara shop. In fact, Urahara's Kisuke's shop, which is going to probably have the greatest amount of significance in this first arc, is the F point that you see on the map. So he's going to be like either at the bottom of that, so probably in like a park or some like grassy area near that shop, or he'll be in the district right below it. And that will be where he lands sometime in early afternoon. Rukia will show up later in the same day. So her destination and time isn't being altered. Dante is simply showing up at an earlier point of the day. Then upon arrival, we'll just have Kisuke basically sense some unusual energy from Dante's presence, and he'll seek him out.
Always good to have a character who's just randomly capable enough to do this shit.
Yeah, Kisuke is a pretty credible source of information within the Bleachverse and is one of its most renowned scientists. He has pretty high spiritual senses as well, so he'll pretty easily be able to sense Dante's presence, and he'll probably regard him as a rather extraordinary one. We'll also script it to have the scenario to have Dante be attacked by hollows, because the presence that Dante is going to be giving off, especially after he just got out of the demon world, is going to alert hollows to his presence, and when he kills them, Urahara is going to realize like he's not exactly like human, because the way he fights is similar to that of like a soul reaper, but he destroys them like a Quincy, but he feels like a hollow, but he looks like a human. So Kisuke is going to be very, very, very fascinated with him. And from this point, we will observe that Kisuke provides a proposal for Dante to basically be studied and cross-examined over a period of time in exchange for room and board and meals and like a place to eat.
Basically, Kisuke is just there to keep Dante somewhere, so we don't have to worry about like actually having to try and set him up, get an apartment or anything.
Well, it's not that he couldn't get an apartment. There are a couple like ways that we could write that in. It's that like the most likely scenario if he shows up in Katakura Town is that he runs into Kisuke, because Kisuke would have a professional interest in discovering what he is, especially before any other scientists or individuals, either from the Arankars or the Soul Society, would come into contact with him. He would have a very much interesting. He would have an interest and a benefit in doing so. Not to mention, Dante would not really have a choice in this case, because he generally, even if, like, again, he has self-sustaining biology, but, like, Dante still feels like he needs a place to stay and a place to sleep. And here comes this guy just like, oh, hey, you must be new here. Let me offer you the opportunity to stay somewhere. And Dante might be like, I'm not interested in that. Well, I can offer you free food and the ability to kill more of these monsters, these demons you keep calling them incorrectly.
It's like, oh, yeah, these are totally demons. Why don't you just come work for me? You're a demon.
Yeah, so he could also say, I could basically give you information about the world that you're in. Dante, based on... we can also point out that Dante, based on his experiences in, like, 2's novel, will be sort of aware that the world that he's in isn't exactly... It's similar, but it's not exactly his, like, world. Though... he will later on figure out, or will confirm it for sure with extended details. So the fourth part, the fourth section of this is basically Dante's objectives. So his in this proposition, Kisuke basically says he discovers through interactions with like Rukia and her info that Ichigo ends up gaining soul reaper powers, because that event doesn't get abrupted or abridged, and sends Dante to spy on him. So Dante only agrees to this condition, aside from like the room and board being held over his head, because as the scenario depicts, his interest is to pick up women. So Kisuke basically offers the opportunity for him to be sent to a high school, and in this scenario, Dante's basically like 19, so he could pass for a high school student.
He could pass for a high school student. Guy looks barely older than 17.
Well, I would like to point out for anyone that wants to ask if Dante will stand out of it, yes, he will, but like both the Vizards and Rukia were pretty easily able to infiltrate their school and get their hands on a uniform in like basically no time at all, and we have no explanation for how that happened.
I completely forgot the Vizards actually infiltrated the school, considering they're all like over 30. in a
Well, actually,
sense.
no, not just them. The Soul Reaper, like, the Hitsugai advanced strike team infiltrated the school, and they all stood out like a bunch of sore thumbs. Yeah, no, Kisuke's obviously more aware of how that school would be operating than like the Soul Society because he's been there for like decades. So he would be well equipped with the information and tools necessary to get him
He'd
inside.
be well equipped to get involved with the worst possible safety school in the entire like franchise of fiction.
Not to mention, he's literally like right next to it. It's the following district to located next to Mitsumi, so it's like it's just north of his position. Also, Dante's only agreeing with this because he also wants to pick up girls. So that's his like thing. The second part of this is that we have to discuss how the Hokyoku works. So, if anyone's read Bleach, you know that the Hokyoku, as per the plot of the story, is revealed to be inside Rukia's Gigai that is given to her by Kisuke after she loses her powers. It's the night she loses her powers. So, after Dante is taken into the shop that night, the Hokyoku is put inside that Gigai and given to her, which basically drains her spiritual powers. That, as well as Dante's demonic desire, both have the ability to grant wishes and basically self-actualize people's dreams into reality. So, essentially, the literal plot device that actually exists in the plot and literally move things forward in the actual plot of the story of Bleach is going to do the exact same thing here, except since Dante's in the story, it's now just going to facilitate women being attracted to Dante.
I just completely forgot. Are we keeping demonic power? Can like grant people what they want, or are we removing that?
Yeah, we're giving it that because it makes it easier for the story to be presented here.
Are we going to have a joke later about Aizen being confused who we stuck the Hokyoku with?
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of jokes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so basically, we decided that the person that he's going to be interested in is Tatsuki, most likely, because Tatsuki has basically been revealed at the beginning of the show to be like Ichigo's best friend. She's known him since she's like a kid. She also has a lot of common interests with Dante, so like martial arts, things like karate. She also has like a very good personality that bounces off of other people, and she has a very large confidence in her winning streak among like the various like guys in her class. So she's made it clear multiple times she could beat like any dude in her class. This will probably prompt Dante to be like, "Oh, that sounds like a challenge." That could result in them having
throw her out a window.
that could result in them having like a couple different sparring matches. So it would give an opportunity for them to get to know each other. It would also provide like a good alibi and a good basis for him to get like close to Ichigo, the person he's literally spying on, and he'd be like, "Oh wow, this is incredibly convenient. I love this arrangement, and I'm happy to be a part of it."
Yeah, I hope there's nothing that makes this go terribly wrong or anything.
So then we get to the fifth part, which I'm sure people at this point are asking, the interactions with how he would interact with the main cast and factions, aside from the people I just mentioned. So how would like characters like Rukia and Uryu act to him? So suspicions that Rukia has about him, like sensing what he is, are going to be completely thrown out by Urahara. So Rukia is basically going to be asking Urahara whenever she goes to the shop, like what's going on with him, and Urahara is probably going to tell him or tell her either not to worry about it, or she'll just tell him that he's like Jinta in Ururu, where he's like essentially like an artificial soul made by Urahara, like a prototype or an experiment. He could just lie or something like that. Uryu is the only other one that I can think that would really be like
interested in Dante?
Yeah, because he does confirm that he knew, like I said before, he knew the night that Ichigo became a Soul Reaper because he could sense the various spirit ribbons and spirit energy in the air, so he could detect that Ichigo became a Soul Reaper. He knew that Rukia Kuchiki's true identity the entire time. So he would be able to tell, like, yeah, Dante, you're human, but you're not, like, you're humanoid, but you're not, like, completely human. There's something about you. But Uryu is a very patient and, like, observant person who does things based on like the information that he can confirm. So most likely Uryu in character would just keep an eye on Dante until he can determine, like, based on some like greater degree of evidence, if Dante is like a friend or foe. Especially if Dante starts hitting it off with like Ichigo's friends. He'll probably assume he's like mostly harmless if he hasn't done anything, but he'll still keep an eye on him because it's like whatever I'm sensing from you is like extraordinary.
This
So
is not normal spirit ribbon. Your spirit ribbons are like black or gold. That is not normal.
also for anyone who wonders like whether or not they'd be able to tell the difference between spiritual pressure and demonic power, they wouldn't even know he has demonic power. Secondly, Uryu confirms that even in the Las Noches Hueco Mundo arc, that Ukiora's spirit energy is actually referred to as alien by comparison. Like it doesn't even feel like spiritual pressure, and what he's giving off is literally just a slightly different version of spiritual pressure. So his reaction in this circumstance is mostly going to be the same, just to a greater extent. He's going to be like, I have no idea what the hell you are, but like, you seem to be chill with most of the friends here, so I'll just keep an eye on you. Better not do anything wrong, or I'll try and kill you with my little blue arrows.
Or I'll use my Quincy bow on you.
Also, Ichigo will not notice, because it is made abundantly clear for most of the arc is that he is not capable of sensing spirit energy until like Uryu points it out to him. When he's in his Soul Reaper form, he's a little bit more attuned to it, and he becomes better at it when he concentrates, but he doesn't passively do it. He needs to actually tap into it. So he's not going to notice anything about Dante. And like I said, Rukia, who would inform him, is going to have her suspicions tossed aside. Uryu hates Soul Reapers, so he's not going to be interacting with Ichigo to begin with until the episode where he actually comes along. Tatsuki can't sense spiritual pressure. Neither can Orihime, neither can Chad, and the times where they finally can happens way later in the arc. And Kone's going to be literally at like Ichigo's house for most of the arc, so he probably won't even see Dante. And even then, like, it's not going to be a problem. So, then the big one is the various factions. So people would probably rightfully ask, well, Zim, Mangler, like, what about the Visors? What about the Fullbringers? What about these, like, the Soul Society? Are we not talking about, like, the giant elephant in the room? Like, what are they going to do if, obviously, Dante enters the world of the living? Well, I actually have another point for this directly. So the Visors will not investigate them because they already know who Kisuke is. And they'll just assume whatever thing that they're sensing near his position is just an experiment or specimen made by Kisuke. They're also grateful to Kisuke as a whole, so they will just respectfully choose not to engage with that. A different situation than one like Ichigo's, where they knew Ichigo explicitly was a substitute Soul Reaper, and then gained Hollow Powers after the fact. The Soul Society is not going to get involved because Rukia is already stationed in the world of the living at this point. Not to mention, Aizen is also in control of Central 46 at this point and has killed all of them, so he already would have had control of the detachments and soldiers that were sent to the Soul Society. So if someone popped up on the radar that, let's say, feels different from anything he's ever felt in his entire existence, in no way, shape, or form is he going to be reporting that to anybody. Also, he would just assume Rukia is probably going to take care of it. Not to mention, we can also point out that Kisuke, when telling him about places in this world, is going to tell him to keep his energy under wraps. And Dante is also capable of suppressing his own presence and things like that, as Virgil has also shown these abilities and these feats in 3's manga as well. So Dante could just shut off a significant amount of his energy or output. He's not like Ichigo. He's a lot better at doing it. Wow. Though Ichigo obviously does get way better at doing it, I'm just saying, like, at the very beginning of the series, he's not, like, spectacular at it. The Fullbringers don't care. They don't give a shit because Dante's not a Soul Reaper who lost his powers, so they're not getting involved. The Bounce, because we're using the anime.
Everyone was saying, like, why are you gonna watch the Bounce arc? It's the most boring Bleach arc.
Look, we kind of have to because we're using the anime. It's more entertaining. The anime fleshes out stuff in the manga that doesn't get fleshed out. The Bounce basically don't have like proper membership right now because it's not really, I don't think it's directly stated, but it is shown in their arc that their members are kind of like scattered across the world in like different cultures and whatnot. So they're not just like, they're in the world of living, but they're not like in Japan right now. And it is confirmed in the guidebook directly that Katakura is, that it is a suburb near the center of Tokyo. So we actually have a direct statement that is near the capital of Japan. So we know exactly where it's located, and there aren't many individuals that would be there. And the balance, for context, are in the world of the living, but they're just not enough of them located in Japan, and they would have no reason to be there. Especially since part of the reason they did was because they went there to go after like Uryu, but in this case, Uryu is obviously not giving off a lot of powers or doing anything that would draw attention to himself. Then the Arankars are not going to intervene because Aizen doesn't have any reason to send anything more than the hollows he sends in the actual show. He's also not trying to reveal to the Soul Society that he has Arankars or any advanced versions of a hollow. That would be like playing his hand, and obviously all Aizen does is plot, so why would he ruin his own plots? Kind of stupid.
The Quincy's, Mangler?
The Vanderreich fall under the same fucking definition that the Fullbringers do. They don't know and they don't care. They're literally hiding inside the shadows of the Soul Society. They're not going to be able to pick up on what's going on. They're not monitoring the world of living at all. So the Vanderreich, the Arankars, the Soul Society, the Vizards, the Fullbringers, nobody cares. Well, either half of them either don't care or don't have reasons to, or good reasons to. So only the human world, like the main like Kisuke's factions and the people with him would care. And in this context, they're kind of on Dante's side and they're currently employing him.
All right.
So down to the sixth portion, and that is Dante's degree of interaction. So he's mostly going to be a side character in this, for at least for the first arc, he will be. He'll be keeping a close eye on Ichigo because that is the alibi that we're giving him to write into the story. He's not going to be involved in every comic book, but he will be involved in most conflicts that feature Urahara. So whenever Urahara shows up in the first like arc, like when Kon goes missing, or with Ichigo's body, the hollow killing contest that Ichigo has with Uryu, he might show up involving Renji and Byakuya's fight, and he will be there during Ichigo's 10-day training regime. And he obviously will be witnessed. He'll be going to school at Ichigo's school for most of the arc, so he'll be there with his friends. At least, like, he won't be participating in like every single major event, like, you know, Grand Fisher, Sora attacking Orihime.
Motherfucker made me fucking watch the whole season.
Oh yeah, I needed to make sure you knew everything here. But all of that stuff is relevant. I will explain why in another video. So he will find out. I will point out that Dante's awareness and his powers will allow him to change like certain things. So Dante's going to find out what happens to Tatsuki the following day after Orihime gets attacked by her brother. He's probably going to figure this out based on like certain context clues and the fact that they both have like the same exact dream and replacement memories or whatnot. Ichigo's probably going to discover that Dante won't be human by the Kon episode at the earliest, or the Hollow Killing Contest at the latest, because there is a possibility they might see Dante there and you might see him in action. The Hollow Killing Contest he will definitely know, because Kisuke shows up with his entire crew, like Uryu, Jinta, and Tessai, to start blowing away hollows so that Ichigo can focus on taking down the Minos Grande. So Dante will most likely be there. So he will see him at that point, guaranteed. If he does not see him at an earlier, like he'll figure out that he's not like human. Dante will be inclined to investigate the Quincy's when Rukia, like before the Hollow Killing like contest, when Rukia comes by for an inquiry about it. And he'll just, kill hollows with them. We are probably going to write in that Urahara will tell Dante not to get involved with Renji and Byakuya. Mainly because Kisuke's kind of a little bit paranoid about Aizen, obviously, because he knows Aizen is still in the Soul Society at this point, and he's constantly plotting, like, all the time. So he doesn't want to draw any unnecessary attention to himself. He's already operating under the radar, so it would be rather problematic for him if a guy that shows up with an even weirder physiology than whatever the hell Ichigo is supposed to be, is like on his payroll. Yeah, no, Ichigo is literally like every single aspect of the cosmologies, like various physiologies, and Dante's is even weirder than that. And him being on Uryu, or not Uryu, Kisuke's payroll would be super weird, especially when Aizen directly sends and monitors Renji and Byakuya to show up in the world of living, a captain and a lieutenant, uh, and that would draw unnecessary attention to the Soul Society, especially since he'd be sending the head of the Kuchiki clan, one of the four great noble families. That's not a good idea if you're trying to lay under the radar. So more than likely, he'll just follow the same plot that he does in the show, where his excuse is that essentially he lets Ichigo go and fight them to show like how much of a difference in power the Soul Society has to offer. And Dante will be like probably in the basement of the Rodaha shop, ready to train with him when he gets retrieved. And I believe, yeah, he'll just train with him during the 10-day period. And then when the rest of the group is finished training, they'll all gather together. And Dante at that point will either be revealed or will be given a explanation by the other members that he's like obviously like not human or he's traveling with them. But they'll all kind of know, with the exception of like Chad and Orihime. And they will journey to the Soul Society arc through Kisuke Senkaimon. And then we have our final notes. So Dante, for this scenario, will be lieutenant level at the beginning of the story scenario, at the beginning of the anime. This is to basically ensure that he is able to like do things in the show. Though keep in mind he won't be involved in too many conflicts. However, this is relevant for the second reason, that's that Dante still has his blood boost, which means he's still going to be growing passively stronger every time he like does anything. His demonic power also still works the exact same way. It's just like the AP and dimensionality and stuff of it has been neutered, but like its growth hasn't. So technically speaking, if he kills a hollow, he's going to gain demonic power equal to the damage he inflicted, which means during the hollow killing contest, his power is going to skyrocket. We'll just kind of hope no one notices. Dante's senses are still at their peak, so he'll be able to sense like people's souls, their mind, their existences from like kilometers away. Most of his hacks are still intact. They're just like some of them have just been removed. And his priority ultimately is to get with Tatsuki. The only reason he's really going to the Soul Society is kind of for the same reason as Chad's. Over time, when he spends more time with Tatsuki, he's going to grow closer to Ichigo. We'll be able to write in other like parts of the story scenario that will give legitimate reasons for why he will be friends with Ichigo. And the main reason we'll be giving for this is that he essentially views Ichigo the same way Chad does, or he views Rukia the same way that Chad does, where he's not friends with Rukia, but Ichigo is. And that's enough reason for him to want to go. Along with the fact that Urahara will literally just be like, hey, so I need you to go like save Rukia for like reasons that I'm not going to disclose to you, because I'm not going to let anyone know that there's a Hokyoku inside of her body, or that she possesses an illegal Gigai that I made that the Soul Society will have my ass for if they figure out I created it. Not going to tell him that. But it's also possible that Dante might figure that out because he can sense souls in people's existences, so he'll probably be able to tell that body that she's using is kind of messed up in some weird ways. Also, Dante going to the with the group just increases the chances of the retrieval of Rukia's like Gigai being more successful. So that would be the reason and the justification for Urahara sending him. It's just like, yeah, it'd be easier if I sent you, because obviously you're strong or whatever. He'll probably like, I don't know, butter Dante up. That'll be like that'll be the compelling reason.
Yeah, you can totally do this. You're the best guy around.
To be honest, that on it, either that or he would just be like, yeah, well, people used to hire this for me. I'm like, well, then I'll just pay you or something. There's so many ways that we could like write him in there, but these are the reasons that I would say are the most legitimate. If not, there are others. So that is essentially the Not rather the script, but the canvas of the script and the scenario that we will be writing for the first arc.
Yes.
Of this, of the Substitute Soul Reaper arc of this, like, little fanfic scenario.
Yes.
Written down to an exact science.
Yes.
Do you have anything you would like to add on behalf of Balrog not being here?
Nope. Well, because again, so we've already covered it, so then, like, now we gotta do is, like, I gotta just write, like, a prototype script and then go through that situation.
Yeah.
Or, okay, so we can either write a prototype script or, well, I guess we'll talk about this a little, I guess, off the recording here, but it's like, so Kyle will be in the full video, or like at least in the full arc video per se. And, yeah. So, we'll probably just make it to where, like, we'll probably just talk about what areas he'll actually appear in, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, we'll explain why he doesn't show up in certain areas and what his reaction to certain characters doing certain things will be, even if he's not directly involved in those events. Because we also do need to cover a little bit of certain characters' growth to help flesh out his like relationships with one another. But that'll be pretty easy to cover because most of these details already cover a lot of those events to begin with.
All right. So yeah, now we just gotta sit down and wait for a day where we can try recording with Kyle. We just gotta decide what events from what episode we'll be starting with, and just go from there.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's all we have for this video.
All right. This is all pre-set up. So yeah. I guess reddusk, if you watch this, let us know if like this is a little out there, or this is like more, or this is fine situation.
Let us know how consistent this is with your I guess your prerequisites for your hypothetical scenario
they've spent,
in your commission.
They've spent like so many hours talking to themselves.
It wasn't as much. It was like 2-hour occasions, but it was a lot.
It's like 50 hours.
It was not 50 hours, but it was at least 6 to 9.
I would wake up in the morning at like 10 o'clock, and I would see them already talking, and then I'd check again at 2, and they would fucking still be talking.
You are lying. It did not take us that much time.
Fucking 4 hours a day.
It is time to stop the recording.
Right.
They need no more information. TMI.
All right.